Jordan Bohannon, Jared Stansberry. It's Jared and J-Bo on Iowa Everywhere. This is Iowa Everywhere.
Yo, it's Jared and J-Bo. J-Bo and Jared. I don't know. Every week it changes. What's going on, man? How's it going?
Doing well, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I feel like shit. My allergies are kicking in. It's that time of year again. Feel probably a lot of people out there that feel about like I do, but we're gonna power through because you know what? I'm a competitor.
You're a dog.
I'm a dog. I got that dog in me. That's right.
You got that dog.
Got that dog in me. Lots to talk about today. Couple different football games that we watched over the weekend. You were betting the over on the Iowa Rutgers game and sweating it until the very bitter end. Late Saturday night, like I'm sure many other people across the country were. Talk about Iowa State and Baylor. I want to talk about this John Wall Players Tribune story that came out late last week. I want to talk a little bit. We talked about Patrick Beverly with George Niang. I want to talk about something that came out of Lakers Media Day. And, of course, we'll hit on some stories later on in the show. First things first, it was announced today that Memphis will not be facing a postseason ban after their mix-up with the NCAA due to the recruitment of James Weissman, who now plays for the Golden State Warriors, was the number one recruit in the country. When he came to Memphis from Memphis East High School a handful of years ago, and then was deemed ineligible, and they played him anyway. And the end result is that Memphis doesn't get in any trouble whatsoever, basically outside of paying a fine and a handful of other things. I think maybe Penny Hardaway got a show cause, but nothing overly impactful. First of all, what did you think of the sanctions coming out? Do you think it's good that they're not giving postseason bans and things like that now, all these years later?
I mean, from everything I've been reading about this situation, I didn't know too much of it until this headline came out. I knew there was some money being dealt with the recruit, and him not playing that year. The thing is, I see it as, there's so much money involved now with college athletics getting money. Like, who cares at this point? Like, what does it even matter? How does it? It's a good thing they're not impacting the future athletes and the current athletes at the school. But at the end of the day, man, just like NCAA, they have this whole accountability panel that they created. And I think they have two to four more cases on their docket they're going to handle with like Louisville and Arizona and those schools.
And then I think those are the last ones that panel's even going to see. They're going to disband it after that. I think it's Louisville. Louisville I saw was maybe next, and then Arizona I think maybe is on there. Kansas is on there, and then maybe Arizona State. I can't remember what the order is, but it is an interesting conversation. The Kansas one I think is tough because a lot of the things that they're accused of aren't really illegal anymore. Like that's where it's hard because when all this stuff came out, 5-6 years ago, like it was a big deal then, but now in the world of NIL, like I don't know that these things matter now. Like I think it almost might as well just let it go,
The thing I find funny in it all is when I was reading this article, I think it was on MSN, it states that part of the penalty is they pay a fee of, I think, I don't know the exact amount of dollars, $11,000, I think, or something. And then like 0.25% of their budget for the next 5 years, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, okay, so I understand the fee. Okay, you paid a recruit, which is kind of legal now. First off, I don't even get the penalty in that aspect.
Well, I think there was these were all like level 2 and level 3 violations. So like they were by no means huge violations.
Right.
I do think if I remember correctly, and again, this was several years ago, there was something fishy about that recruitment, and I can't remember if it was that like someone's high school coach ended up on a staff or like what the deal was. Or no, I think if I'm remembering right, James Weissman might have lived with somebody and then went to Memphis East and then went to Memphis. And it was just like kind of sketchy, and that's kind of what prompted it and to where he didn't end up playing it in more than I think one game. But yeah, I wonder what Memphis's basketball budget even is.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. Hold on, I'm curious here now that you're talking about this. So if they're making 0.25% for the next 5 years, but the thing that's so weird to me is
Okay, I found it. Found it.
9 million to.
It says the men's basketball program at the University of Memphis. Okay, this can't be 100% right. Oh my gosh, you got to read here. I'm going to read this entire entry. This is from collegefactual.com.
Okay, yeah, I see
Who
this.
knows what the hell this is going to be? It shows that Memphis men's basketball made a $0 or had a complete even net profit. It says the men's basketball program at U of M made $11,932,656 in revenue and spent $11,932,656 in expenses. So the program broke even, and then it finishes. It's unfortunate that it didn't make any money, but then again, it didn't lose any money. I refuse to believe that University of Men's Basketball does not make money. I refuse to believe that is true. But
you're saying Memphis? You don't think Memphis men's basketball does?
No, I'm saying that it doesn't. I refuse to believe that it doesn't make money. That it's showing a net zero, like that it's showing a zero.
Well, Jared, that's probably the whole budget, though.
Oh yeah, it's
that's probably they're probably taking effect. Like, I would understand maybe the athletics budget doesn't make money as a whole.
They're taking the athletics budget that is posted on the internet at its face and saying, yes, these are the facts, which are not the facts. It's just, that's not true. All right. But 11,932. I'm not a math guy. I got to get a calculator out for this. So, times 0.25. Based on this budget, that would be, I mean, okay, so it's actually, I'm sorry. Again, I'm not a math guy. This is not going well.
What are the numbers here?
It's 11,932, 656 times 0.025. It's like $29,000 or $298,000. I don't know. I'm doing a bad job. It's a lot of money either way still, because their basketball budget's apparently $12 million. But
I'm curious to see. I have to reread the article if it's the whole athletics budget as a whole or the men's basketball budget, because that's a huge difference.
Yeah,
I would imagine it would have to be the men's basketball budget.
Okay, so what was initially a probe into Memphis's handling of Weissman's eligibility status, thanks to an $11,500 payment Hardaway made to Weissman's mother in 2017 during his time as a high school basketball coach at Memphis East. Damn, I almost got that right. Quickly morphed into a thorough examination of Hardaway, the basketball program, the school's compliance staff, the entire athletics department, and former university president M. David Rudd. Woof. This just does not give like very good details. Memphis has received a $5,000 fine, 3 years probation, and the basketball team must vacate its win from November 5th, 2019. Like, this is completely unimpactful. It doesn't mean anything.
No, it's literally a slap in the wrist. But I found that part interesting. Okay, so let's say they do make, let's say they make $2 million a year for the men's basketball program. So they get 0.25% every year. Where does that money go? Does that go to other sports, the NCAA championship sports, or what happens to it? Does that go to salaries for the quote unquote nonprofit for the NCAA?
No, I can't imagine it does. I bet that it does go into some sort of, like.
But this is where I get the whole conspiracy. I feel like it has to.
I read through the document that I breezed through it. I'm gonna pull it up. I know Matt Norlander has it on Twitter because I know that I think it said where it needs to go in what was. Yeah, it says a $5,000 fine plus 0.25% of its average men's basketball budget based on the average of the men's basketball program's previous 3 total budgets. So I guess it doesn't say where it goes. I don't know. Who do you make the check out to, you think?
That's my thing. What name do you put on the check? That's step 1 here. Step 2, how do they allocate those funds and how do they decide where that money goes? Because God knows they are not doing the right things in those offices already to begin with.
Do you think that it's kind of like when you pay a fine, like if you get a speeding ticket, you know, like do they know where that money goes? Maybe
Well, I
the
mean, it's
money just
supposed to
goes
go
back
back.
into enforcement, you know?
So it goes back into the accountability panel. So why the
Yeah.
fuck would they just not
Or not
investigate
the
everything?
accountability panel, but the whatever the compliance building or, arm is where they've got investigators and stuff like that. Because I think that stuff is still going to exist on some level. It just won't be
I
what it
don't, I
is
don't,
now.
I don't, I disagree. I don't see how that can last. Well, I mean, what are they going to investigate?
I
Like,
don't
what,
know.
what is
But
there?
this is the thing. But this is the thing. The NCAA is like they're too terrified to let the NCAA go away. The NCAA is going to exist somehow, and they're going to
Oh, wow.
say theoretically that they're going to investigate things, but these investigations take like 7 years.
But here's what
It
happens
doesn't
though,
matter.
Jared. All these investigations occur because the compliance offices in each respective university and institution across the United States brings them to them. So theoretically, if a compliance office doesn't cease to exist in these individual universities, institutions, they're not going to investigate anything because that's their enforcement right there is the compliance offices.
But here's the issue: the people who have these things, and the reason that these things exist is because they want the people they're competing with to not be able to cheat. Like that's what the whole thing is.
I understand that, but there's no cheating. Like what athletic revenue sharing is going
They'll
to become
find a
a
way to
thing.
still report things.
I know,
It's
but
just like the guy them going down and talking to that John Ruiz at Miami and saying like, "Yo, you're doing something shady. Like, what are you doing here?"
what is there to be shady at this point though? Once athlete revenue sharing becomes a thing, which it will, these conferences are growing exponentially. Media rights is off the charts right now. I'm saying I understand your point, but I'm also saying there's nothing to look at anymore once this happens. Already with NIL, you can't enforce NIL. It is physically impossible with
I'm
all this
right
stuff
there
going
with
on.
you. I agree with you. I
I
agree.
know,
There's no point to have these things. I'm just saying this is why they exist is because there's going to be the people out there who they still need to hold accountable for cheating, even if there's nothing that they're doing to cheat.
but
You
why
know,
waste all that? Why waste all these funds on top? I don't think the compliance office really serves any purposes on these universities anymore. For one, and why spend all that money on two with the NCAA as well, allocating these funds and they're taking money from these universities if there's technically nothing to be cheated upon anymore.
this is why this shit's a racket, man. Why do
It
they need to
is.
spend the money? Because they have to.
They
Like,
don't have to. You're telling me they spent millions of dollars on lawyer fees to lobby against NIL when it
what they
ended up
spent?
passing,
Didn't
and
they
they're
spend
still
like
doing it.
$60 million on that or something crazy? Like they
Yes,
spent an insane amount of money on that.
and they're still doing it right to this day, to this exact day. They're still lobbying against NIL when it's already been a blanket waiver pass. That's how idiotic I'm saying like the allocation of funds in NCAA is happening, and it's right there in front of our eyes. So I'm curious to see if we follow the money, like this exact funds go from when they find these schools,
We need to
where it ends up.
launch an investigation.
Well, where's the I want to other question is when's the last time NCA has been audited as a nonprofit? You have to audit nonprofits too as well, right?
Well, yeah, and I think too, like all their financial information would be public information, wouldn't it? Since
I
they're a
would
nonprofit.
imagine. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean they share the charts and the distribution of their funds, but that's just briefly. I'm curious to see exactly like how those categories fall under those each of those allocations.
It shouldn't even exist anymore if we're being well, I mean it should because it is still an important oversight thing I think for the lower levels of college athletics. Especially because it's really hard to organize that shit with like thousands of schools involved, you know? I think that's even what the athletic directors, when they started talking about the possibility of taking college football off and like doing its own thing and creating their own whatever league, I guess. I think they started to figure out like, holy shit, there's a lot to this, and the NCAA already has, especially I think from a basketball perspective, from all the Olympic schools perspective, it's like, well, they kind of have this stuff down to a science. How do we make what they're doing better? That's what I think the conversation needs to be right now. It's not about anything new. It's like, how do we make this thing better? And for a long time, the idea of making things better was completely taboo to them. They didn't want anything to do with making things better. They wanted to stay exactly how it was. But I don't know what the answer is either.
The thing that's been so now that I've been on the inside of it all these past couple years and fighting for NIL and stuff like that, the ISAC that is it's so backwards, man. Like if you think about it, these NCAA is hiring, basically quote unquote hiring these athletes to speak on behalf of the athletic population as a whole. And these athletes are like swimmers and rowers. Like nothing against those sports. Like
It's the bootlicker athletes.
yeah, I
That's what you're
mean, I don't
saying?
not necessarily. Like they have a job too as well. I mean, they have a full-time job of sport, what they
Yeah.
do for their sport. But they're hiring these people to speak on behalf of like football and basketball players, and they're nothing compared, like no like inferiorness to this or superiorness at all to what I'm saying here, but they don't make the money that some of these basketball programs and football programs do for these schools. So how can you have those kind of athletes speak on behalf of those two sports when it's not even comparable?
Right.
So I always thought that was backwards as well. I think the ISAC as a whole, that needs to be reevaluated as well, because that's necessarally what
What's
the
that?
NCAA
What's
listens
the
to.
what is? I don't even know what that is.
I don't know.
I
I have no idea what it stands for. It's like the
intercollegiate
interlegion uh,
student athletic
student athlete
committee or
association
something.
or
Yeah.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, the committee. Yeah. So they directly like pinpoint where like what they talk about in these meetings and how they want to go about it. They ask for their opinion, obviously, but I mean, at the end of the day, a rower is not going to know exactly what's going on within the basketball and the football dynamic of all the revenue being produced. And you're telling me they're going to say something supportive for these two sports is, I mean, I just don't think that. I think that's why the NCAA has been so far behind, is because they created this committee, in my opinion.
Well, and I mean, it's just like this conversation. If you correlate it to the school level, the NCAA has people on their board of governors or on their board of managers or whatever it is that it's called.
The board
I
of
mean,
governors.
people that are from like from St. Peter's, which like we saw this last year, what a school like St. Peter's can do in the NCAA tournament. But I think at the same time, people that are at, LSU or at Texas or whatever sit there and they're like, the problems at St. Peter's aren't even close to the same as the problems at Texas. Why is that person on our board making decisions for us? Which I get. Like, I kind of understand that, because it comes back to just what you said. Why is the person who's a swimmer, why is the person who's on the soccer team or like whatever, again, it's nothing against those people, but why are they the ones that are being asked when the biggest sports that are being impacted might be football or basketball?
Yeah, and I remember when I was speaking out on behalf of the college athletes that there's a Rutgers. He's like the head of ISAC, so he was like the guy that was going to like lobbying with NCAA and speaking at these Senate meetings and hearings and against these committees, talking about the interest in college athletes. And I remember listening to some of, not what he said in particular, but other people that spoke on college athlete behalf. Like they had no idea, like God bless their soul, but they had no idea what they were talking about in the inner workings of the NCAA. So, I always go back to, I think that's why it's been so far behind with a lot of these things, because like the real college athlete voices really haven't been heard until these last couple of years. And I think that's why finally there's a step forward, and NCAA is still fighting it, even though they passed something, which is beyond crazy of it all.
Do you think Kansas should still be punished for the stuff they did with Adidas?
I don't know. I think I'm complete spacing on the name of the AAU circuit, EYBL, the whole
Yeah, the
EYBL,
EYBL.
and
Yeah.
the AAU circuits and all the handlers involved with the AU program. I think
Dude,
that's
if we want to talk about who the problem is,
right.
man,
I mean, that goes down to
we're
like
talking
parents.
about the wrong level of sports.
Yeah, I mean that goes down. I mean, along the line of just everything wrong in society is just the parenting in this whole world is completely messed up. Like you have kids that are chasing the wrong things, I feel like, and that doesn't go with sports, but in life in general. I think that's why shit like this is happening across the board, because there's just no guidance with a lot of these athletes that are growing up from a young age to what they are now.
And the issue too is that it's not that they don't have guidance. They might have guidance, but the guidance is misguided.
Yeah,
is misled, or I mean, is just have their priorities wrong. Like they're trying to figure out how they can get their bag too. How can I get whatever from Adidas, or how can I get free something from whoever, and that's the bigger problem, is that we've got people who are hangers on to a lot of these kids that just like are there, and it's my uncle, or it's my AAU coach, it's my trainer,
Yeah.
And who knows how many of these people have the kid's self-interest at heart, or the kid's best interest at heart at the end of the day. And I think that's even going to be a concern that we look forward with NIL with. When a kid's out of school or a guy is out of school and his buddy or his uncle comes to him and says, hey, it's such and such school, it's such and such, or such and such agent or such and such, whatever, says they can get you such and such amount of money at school X, but you can't get that here. You got to go in the transfer portal, you got to leave. Grass isn't always greener, You never know what's going to happen. And that's what I have more concern for people who get bad advice from people that they shouldn't be trusting in a lot of these scenarios than I do for actual people who are going to think through their decisions and make their decisions for themselves. I'm more concerned about that because I know there's a lot of shady ass characters that work in this, especially in basketball.
Yeah. Well, especially, it's already been happening. There's a Florida State football player that I don't know if he wrote the article or was quoting the article about he was promised all these things. I believe it was a Florida State lineman.
It was the 5-star recruit that transferred from Georgia to California.
Georgia, yes, yeah, and he was promised all these things.
High school junior.
Yeah, they just weren't delivered to him. And but you look at that. That's not even like an NIL thing. It's just that happens all the time in college athletics as a whole. You're recruited, and coach promise you a starting job, promise you a chance, an opportunity. You might get a chance, but you don't break in that starting lineup the first year. And that's whether you look at it, you didn't work hard enough, or it's a broken promise. That's just something that's been happening for decades now.
Yeah, that's something that I think people maybe don't realize quite as much happens. How often promises will be made in the recruiting process, and then how infrequently those promises are not followed through on. It depends on who the coach is. There's a lot of coaches out there who don't do that. There's a lot of different guys who are going to keep it real with you and tell it to you straight. But man, there's a lot of coaches out there who get a little desperate and start getting a little loose in what they're doing on the recruiting trail. And they'll start telling kids things that are not true, just in order to try and get their commitment and save their own asses.
Yeah. And the way I look at it too, I've always been on the side of the college athletes, but the way I look at it too is, if you're promised some of these things from coaches, he sees the ability and potential in you, not only with NIL, with businesses you might work with in the future, or the coach as a whole, or the team as a whole. So, if you're a college athlete out there, you got to take it to heart when you're being told this from either a coach or an agent out there or someone, that you got to not only kind of brush that to the side, you heard it, but also you don't take that to heart. You put your head down and work every single day. And anytime you work in something really hard in your life, something's good going to happen.
And if you're going to have someone tell you that, make sure they have an actual plan of action, how they're going to do this, not them just telling you things, empty promises. That's the problem I'm speaking of, is empty promises. The people who tell people things and then don't do them. They just are trying to get whatever they can piggybacked off of you. And I don't know, man. It'll be interesting to see how a lot of these things continue, because I don't know. I know Iowa State doesn't have money to compete in a lot of those things, if it really got to where it was out of control. But I think a lot of these things are going to kind of normalize out. And I don't know how much things are really going to even change in the end. 10 years from now, we might look back at it and be like, yeah, they changed a little bit, but did they really change? And that's what I think the thing that is the bigger hole in the NCAA's argument is that they tried to say that if the student athletes got paid, people would stop watching. And that's clearly not true. I think that's what we're going to look back at 10 years from now is man, we gave these student athletes the opportunity to do anything. And nothing with the athletics changed. Everything just continued on, and it's business as usual for the most part.
People that knew sports and love watching sports, there might have been a couple of bad apples saying, oh, I'm not going to watch sports ever again. You're going to watch sports. I don't care.
Old heads who are lying on the internet. That's who it is.
And I guarantee you those same old heads got on their couch, flicked on their remote, and watched the same sporting event the next day that they said they weren't going to watch online. That's just how it's going to work. That's how it's always going to work, no matter what happened. the same thing happened with the NFL with the whole racial justice stuff that was going on with Colin Kaepernick. Everyone was saying how they're going to be done watching NFL. NFL is more popular than ever this year. It's just how it works. Anytime sport.
For almost 10 years since then.
Yeah.
was a long time ago now. It's crazy to think, but and then it's funny you have people come back and say, well, they gave Colin Kaepernick an opportunity. Yeah, 10 years later when he was like 40 years old. Like,
here's the thing, I'm gonna get controversial. I say controversial
rarely, every week.
I don't think Colin Kaepernick is good enough to be in the NFL. Is that bad to say?
No, like that's what I'm saying. It's been 10 years.
Exactly.
Like when I saw, how long has it been? When's the last time Colin Kaepernick played in an NFL game? Like, and this is not me discounting what Colin Kaepernick has done, because I think that there was a time when Colin Kaepernick absolutely should have still been in the NFL.
But what I'm trying to get across is too, is like there's those people out there that are like, oh, he just didn't get a chance. Like this, it's wrong what they're doing to him. Like it's racist. Like, dude,
he's
not
6
good.
Years now, and he's
not good enough.
This last offseason was the first time that I remember him getting a tryout, even, I think, and it like a real tryout. Well, I don't know how real tryout. I guess it was. I wasn't there, but being given an opportunity to make the team, and it's like, I mean, you're 34 years old and you haven't played in an NFL game in 6 years. I imagine it's kind of hard to keep up. I don't know. So I don't know. I that's a tough one. I think in 2017, Colin Kaepernick absolutely should have been in the NFL, but I don't know about in 2022. It's been a long time.
And you have some dogs coming in every single year trying to take
spots. There's a lot of guys. Yeah,
and
that's where at this point it's no different than a lot of guys.
Yeah,
you just get old, man, and you're like, the game passes you by a little bit. I just think it was unfortunate that it had to happen for him. I mean, almost immediately from when he was still a pretty good player. He's 2 years.
I agree with that. Yeah,
coaching it, or from quarterbacking a team to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
and then had to have those things get in the way of him continuing his career. All right, let's talk about your Iowa Rutgers over. Who the hell is betting the over on the Rutgers Iowa game? Is all I want to say. First things first, but life's too short to ever bet the under. So I'm glad to hear you did.
Jared, how the hell do you not bet the over when it's literally the lowest? I think it was the lowest ever. And
yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, it's still barely even hit, man.
Dude, the worst part is I didn't have 33.5. I put it in late and I got 34. So I'm like, they kicked the field goal and they made the field goal. Or no, how did that? I don't even remember how 34 hit. I think it was a field goal they hit. No, it was a touchdown. They threw that touchdown, and that
would have made it 20. That would have made it 20 to 10. Yeah, or no,
no.
Yeah, Rutgers threw a touchdown. Yeah, it's 27-3, and then they threw a touchdown. Is that what
okay? So it was a field goal that was for 33.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's not right.
Well, the final score was I'm clicking on it. Final score was 27-10, and there were 10 points scored in the fourth quarter. Iowa kicked a field goal, and Rutgers scored a touchdown.
Yeah. So when it was at 34, I had to push. So I was like, okay, I stressed over this hard. I'm not pushing. I don't want even money here.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like, how do you not bet the over there? Honestly, I get it. I know what you're gonna say. The offense is a trap. Yeah,
it's a trap. It's just like the Dolphins are 4.5 or 4-point dogs going into Cincinnati on Thursday night.
That doesn't make sense.
Dolphins are 3-0. Got wins over the Ravens. Got wins over the Bills. You know what it is? It's a fucking trap, man. That's what it is.
Did you watch that Dolphins Buffalo game?
I did. I did.
What? I get it. Josh Allen is trying to avoid contact and not go down for a sack.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was almost worth. They didn't get another playoff. They could have spiked the ball and hoped for a 60-yarder for a field goal, or thrown it down.
I didn't understand why the guy didn't run out of bounds. That was the other thing that I thought is kind of just run straight out of bounds. But then they have a holding like right before that. They were right on the edge of field goal range, and then got called for a hold. So that didn't help either. But this is my thing. Like, you look at that Dolphins line, and they're 4-point underdogs, and you're like, well, there's no way they were the only undefeated team left in the AFC. Like, they're one of the best teams in the league. But then you think about it, and it's like they needed to come back from down 3 scores to beat the Ravens in the fourth quarter, which is kind of fluky. Not probably going to happen very often. And then I think the Bills had 3 offensive linemen and like 2 starting defenders get hurt, and they still lost by 2. So it's like but there are so many people out there that are going to go and bet Miami +4. Don't be surprised if the fucking Bengals go and win. Yeah,
I'm
you're gonna bet it. You're gonna bet it. You're gonna
hammering
get
that
trapped.
shit.
I'm telling you.
It's
You're gonna
fine.
get trapped.
I had
warning
a
you.
bet. I think I was 2 for 8, or no, I was two for 9 on bets last weekend.
Oh,
Wasn't it?
jeez.
I won the Iowa one and then Jordan Spieth on Sunday. That was
It's
it.
kind of random that you
Or
won a
Saturday.
golf bet in an over on Rutgers in Iowa. You were probably the only man in the world to have the over in the Rutgers Iowa game.
Should have parlayed it.
All right, Saturday afternoon, I almost had to tweet at you and see if we could get your eyes on this Iowa State Baylor game because there was something afoot. I think
Something was brewing
with the officiating crew. Some questions to be asked.
It's coming back to me. Let's go. After 2 weeks of me getting shit on for saying it, the whole timeline I see of Iowa State people I follow, them talking about rigging the game.
No one talked about it being rigged.
Yeah, okay.
I called it shameful because it was shameful. It was a shameful performance by the men in stripes. Like, horrendous. Those guys are good. I guarantee those guys are going to get fined or something this week. I don't know what
the officials.
Oh yeah, dude, or they'll
They
get
don't get
suspended.
fined?
It was horrible, dude.
They don't get fined. That's
well, then they'll
why
get suspended, or they'll say they're going to suspend them
they're
and not
suspended.
suspend them.
They don't.
That's
Nothing happens to them. This is why I went off on the officials because they are the most protected individuals in sports. But they don't have to answer any questions for what they do. They don't have to get any fines, suspensions, nothing. So yes, I am 100% with you. I did not watch the game. I saw some highlights, some targeting calls, the chop block. I saw that. I mean, I agree. There's something fishy going on, and I'm down to push that panic button that there's something weird brewing in college sports.
I actually got a funny story here. My roommate's girlfriend works at the airport. She works for Enterprise, and like is a manager there at renting cars and stuff. Shout out to Delaney. She's one of my homies. But she said she had the officials come through on Friday night coming into Ames. She's like, yeah, they were all, talking about how they needed to get up to Ames for the game, all this stuff. I was like, well, I hope you treated them right. I hope you made sure that they're going to give us some good calls there on Saturday. Middle of the game, I texted her. I was like, your fucking officiating friends needed to get a better car, apparently, because whatever you did not come through for us on this one. It was a bad deal. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I feel bad for you guys. It's almost like part of me, I don't know. There's a couple of people in the Iowa State sections tweeting at me after I said that comment. So I'm not happy it happened, but it just went full circle for a little bit.
God. Oh my God. Dude, this is what I thought was so funny. I hate how this shit happens sometimes. Every opportunity that some people get, doesn't matter who it is, Iowa State or Iowa, they take this holier than thou approach. It's like the picture came out of the Iowa State student with his middle fingers up to the field or whatever. And I see someone post that on Facebook and they're like, oh, how classless is this and all these things. And I'm like, yeah, if we want to sit here and pick through every bad apple it was 60,000 people at a football game, I'm sure we can probably find a couple of people who are not a very good representation of the fan base.
A couple, I would say, honestly, probably 1,000. 1,000 would probably be a good number that are probably bad apples.
And that's at every football game on the planet.
Every single football game on the planet.
Every single sporting event on the planet, you could probably find 1,000 people there who you would sit and be like, man, this guy's a real fucking jackass, And that doesn't matter who they're a fan of. And I hate that. Like, I hate how people are just like, yeah, well, we lost the football game, but at least you guys are pieces of shit because you guys are flipping off the field and all this stuff. I'm like, I don't know. It's just like, it's the same thing as if I sat here and was like, oh, all Iowa fans are classless pieces of shit because they threw beer at Xavier Hutchinson when he scored a touchdown. Like, how stupid is that? It's a stupid thought, but people still do it.
I mean, just like me, when I played at Hilton this year, I had 20,000 people chanting "fuck Bohannon" nonstop at the game every time I touched the ball.
Yeah, but you deserved it though.
How did I deserve that?
You brought it on yourself at this point.
I have this video that one of my friends sent me, and I'm posting on Twitter when this gear releases. Imagine I'm just gonna let this brew marinate with you guys listening right now, and you, Jared, too. Imagine me at the game with my sweet mom and family sidelines watching the game, and every time I touch the ball, I'm gonna tweet the video because he just sent it to me last week. He's like, dude, you guys have to talk about this. So I'm gonna send it on Twitter, and you're gonna listen to it, and you're gonna
Is
listen
it
to it
just fuck
maybe.
Bohannon over and
You're gonna
over?
listen to it for 10. It's about 10 seconds. I want you to listen to it about 100 times this next week when this releases. Okay. And think about what my family on the sidelines. Don't say I deserve this.
No, I
I
know.
was
I'm
part of the
giving you shit,
rivalry.
dude.
I
I'm giving you
did.
shit.
I know you are.
Here, your family did not deserve that, but you got to sit here and you can't sit here and tell me you're not kind of proud of the fact that you did something in a rivalry that brought that out of people.
Oh, I loved it. I already said this before. If I could go back again, I would love to play in that environment again. 100%.
I feel like that's something that can almost be like a badge of honor that it's like, yeah, like you got to be good and got to be successful to be able to get under people's skin at that level, you know?
It was
That's what's
awesome.
like. That's what I'll always give George credit for. George always got under people's skins because you know why? George is really good.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, but at the end of the day, people respect him still too. You know, and I don't know. I think a lot more Iowa State fans respect you than what you might think off of Twitter. Because again, if we're gonna judge off only the bad apples.
Yeah, they're mostly on Twitter. I agree.
Yeah, all of them are on Twitter. I would
Yeah.
imagine. All right, I want to talk about this John Wall Players Tribune article that came out on late last week. I would highly suggest anyone go out and find it. If you just Google John Wall Players Tribune, it'll pop up. But the headline of it's called "I'm Still Here." It talks about his battle with depression, how close he was to committing suicide, the death of his mother, all this stuff. Really powerful, impactful things. Stuff you don't read. I mean, seems like basketball players are talking about this stuff more and more than what they ever did previously after the last handful of years. But shit, you still got to give somebody a lot of props for the courage to go out and write some of these things and talk about some of this stuff publicly. You know, I got a lot more respect for John Wall after reading this deal.
And that's so hard to do when you're a public figure like that. Like, I'm nowhere near what John Wall was, but saying something like that when you have a lot of people that follow you on social media and watch you play on a daily basis during the season, it's really hard to be personable and allow people in your lives because they're already so much a part of your lives, whether the athletes like it or not. Like, they see you grow from a different person when you first arrived to where you are now, and it's really hard to be personable and allow more people into your private life. So I applaud the hell out of this. I think Kevin Love did something similar a few years back, and I think the college athletes are dealing with so much more nowadays that was never dealt with before back then with social media and hearing more about. I mean, sports betting is a big part of this too as well, but they just deal with so much shit, and it's hard to get through.
Yeah. Shit hits, dude, because I don't know, you don't know this, but I've like battled depression and stuff like that for a long time, and I mean, now I think I'm in a pretty good place. It, took a long process and things like that. It takes a lot of constant work and always trying to continue to get better and not fall back into a hole. But shit is scary as fuck, man. That's all I'll say. And that's where I'll give John Wall some props because you got to be pretty fucking strong to come out of it on the other side, in my mind, and not give in to those possibilities and give in to those ideas. And shit's hard, especially when you start to spiral into those things and you start to fight those demons. They don't fight fair. So I got a lot of respect for John Wall. I'm going to be rooting for him this season. I hope that he has a big bounce back year. I hope he could be like MVP, or not MVP, most improved player or something like that in the NBA.
I mean, you guys are fucking heroes. I can't. I wasn't severe or anything, but just dealing with college athlete, hearing all this stuff on the sidelines, it did get to me years as down the road. And I have a lot of respect for you that you opened up like that, because I haven't probably been as worse as you are, but I've had those thoughts of, my life sucks and I don't know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I have a bad game and I just don't want to even talk to anyone for weeks. So You know, people like that, people like you, people like John Wall, you guys are fucking heroes because battling with your I'm dead ass because battling with your brain is one of the hardest battles you can ever have in your life. And
That's
I've
why,
talked.
yeah, that doesn't fight fair. It's like I
No,
said, it doesn't.
it's not a fair fight. It's a David and Goliath fight because everything you do, every action you make, you don't seem like it's the right thing to do. And when you have someone in your body saying the complete opposite of what you want to do and think is right, it fucks you up. It really does. And I mean, I don't even know what you went through, but I could tell it hits home for what he wrote. No, I was just reading through it and reading about his mom passing away. Like that shit, that's scary. Like what he was able to do growing up and getting to where he's at now and have all this money, all this fame, and it's still not enough because like we are just talking about, like your brain it's crazy what goes on in your head. It really is.
Yeah, and it's especially hard to ask for help. That was what I think was my biggest thing. It's about admitting you have a problem, or admitting that you have something that is eating
Admitting you're
away
not
at you,
okay, that you're not okay.
eating away at you to the point where you're like really gonna have a problem,
Mm.
and uh, that's where I give him a lot of respect because I especially imagine as being a professional athlete, being someone who had a lot of money, who had a lot of things going right for him, that to admit that you need help in that scenario would be pretty fucking scary. And because I know that's true because I've had to do it. And when you finally ask for help, that's when you feel some release because it's like a weight, Sorry, this is turning into my therapy session, but it's like a weight is just on your shoulders all the time. And the second that you can talk to somebody about that and you can lift some of that weight off your shoulders and just have someone that is there for you that wants you to win, that means a lot, and I hope John Wall wins. I hope anybody out there that's struggling with this shit, I hope that they win too. Anybody can always reach out to me. My DMs are open on Twitter. I'll always be there to direct anybody to any sort of resources they need or anything like that, because I know that I needed some people like that a handful of years ago that really could help me. So
I do want to piggyback on that for a second because I wouldn't be a brother that I am. I try to be without giving a shout out to my brother Zach because he went to every one of my games other than the 2 games I got canceled because of COVID. And I never really understood why he decided to do that until later on in my career. And I remember, I think it was senior year, where we were playing at Maryland, and we just got our asses kicked, and I had a really bad game. And that was like the first season that I was going through where I started kind of listening. And I always talk crap to people that talk crap to me. That's just who I was, being competitive. But that was like the first year that kind of social media got the best of me because people started tweeting at me more. And I started understanding like, damn, there's actually a lot of people watching these games and a lot on the line for, a kid like me playing in this. And I remember our plane got delayed on the tarmac and we stayed in Maryland. And we just, my brother would always talk to me, never would talk to me about basketball after games. And when I came out of the tunnel, he, I gave him a hug, said thanks for coming to the game, and he said, "Where's the basketball?" So I went to grab a basketball from the Maryland managers. They were nice enough to give me a basketball, and we just started playing pig in an empty arena. Me and my brother. My brother is always dressed up, wearing dress shoes, dress pants, and a dress shirt. And we were just playing pig after we just lost by like 20-25 to a Maryland team. And I had one of the worst games of my career. And after that was the first time I really asked him. I was like, first off, I was like, Zach, are you really going to try to go to my games? Like, that's insane. He's like, yeah, I want to be there for you. And I was like, why are you doing it? And he said the same exact thing. He's like, I want to be there for you because I've been there in your shoes. I've been through what happens on the outside of these stadiums and these arenas that can get your head so messed up that you don't even know who you are anymore. And after that, I was like, damn, like this is real, because you kind of realize like no matter what you're going through, like life gets real sometimes. And when you have that person by your side that you're talking about and you're opening up to, that means the world, and that meant the world to me. So I love you, Zach, and thank you for being there for me. Really appreciate that. You have no idea.
Man, I got deep. John Wall. Like I said, shout out to him, man. That's pretty fucking cool. There was something I was gonna say. Can't remember. Oh, I remember. Man, this was like when I left Simpson when I was playing basketball. Dude, there was like, I mean, I've been pretty low some different times. That was one of the lower points, but it was like
When you're done playing.
Yeah, well, and it wasn't even about being done playing. It was about the way that everything happened. And I didn't. I'm not going to talk about all that stuff because one, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. Like it's not anybody's fault. It's 10 years ago too, so it's like it don't matter anymore, But man, the way that things kind of transpired really fucked me up. Where it made me lose a lot of my confidence in a lot of the things I was doing. It made me lose kind of my sense of self. When you're not an athlete anymore, all of a sudden, and you got to be just a student now. And I felt like some of those things had been beaten out of me. It made basketball not very fun to play. It made basketball not very fun to be around or like think about or talk about anymore. And that's just like, it's just one of those things. Like, again, it just shows like if you allow yourself to get beaten down, and you don't have that person that can be an outlet or someone who can be there to listen to you talk and things like that, that it can just really, really tear you up. All right, we can turn the page because this has gotten really sad. But
no, it needs to be talked about. I'm glad you brought this up, and I mean, hey, you're kicking, bro. You're still kicking. What does Finding Nemo say? You just keep swimming.
Yeah, just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. All right. We talked about Patrick Beverley a couple weeks ago with George Niang when he was on. Did you see the clip that came out of Lakers Media Day yesterday? What Pat Bev said his favorite LeBron highlight is?
I did not see that, no.
He said his favorite LeBron highlight is when he blocked his shot on Christmas for the Clippers to beat the Lakers.
Why am I not surprised you would say that?
So exactly what I said. I was like, that's exactly what I would expect Patrick Beverley's favorite LeBron highlight to be. Yeah, he is something else, man.
He said, I think it was a month ago, the first media session when he got traded or something, and one of the reporters asked him, how are you going to seek, or what kind of advice are you going to ask LeBron and Russell and these guys when you start playing? He's like, I don't know the exact quote. I completely just butchered that question, but he's like, man, they're not getting mad. I'm not asking them advice. They got to ask me advice. We beat them. Like something crazy like that.
Well, yeah, I think he said my team went to the playoffs last year.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah.
I'm like, this dude's a character.
Well, and then I saw he said yesterday that him and his favorite team his favorite friend or his best friend on the team is Russell Westbrook. And I was like, man, what a turn from 2011 when Patrick Beverley tore Russ's ACL. I think that first year after, or I guess what would that have been? 2012, 13. Yeah, when Russ tore his ACL and KD was by himself right after James Harden left. And Pat Bev, it was like his first game with the Rockets. He came in and was trying to make a weird play, and Russ tore his ACL in the process. What a redemption story for Patrick Beverley. You love to see it. That guy is he is something else, man. I had a feeling.
He's a psycho.
He's a psycho, but I also think he would be low-key kind of fun to be around. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, easily, yeah. Those guys, man, that just makes everything fun when you're around those type of guys.
He came in for his first media session and he said, how's everybody doing? And nobody responded. And then he how's everybody doing to all the media people? And the media people are like, oh, hi, Pat, and he gets up there. He's like, we're a family, right? We're supposed to be a family, right? All season, we're a family. He's like, we're a family. We say good morning. We say good night. And I know what I would have been like as a media person. I've been like, let's fucking go, Pat. We're winning the title this year. Yes, sir. Me as the beat reporter, I'm helping you guys win the title this year. Let's get this job done.
You like stand up in the back row, you take your shirt off and start pounding your chest. I could totally see you doing that.
MVP right here, the real MVP, Patrick Beverley. All right, dumbass of the week. Man, this story, okay. Iowa middle schooler expelled after bringing gun to school. I would sure as hell hope so. This story should be shocking. This comes from KHAK 981.com.
Great country radio station.
It's a country radio station.
Yeah, it's a great country radio station.
Oh, I don't listen to music on the radio. I guess that's probably
You don't listen to the radio?
Well, I mean, no. If I'm driving in my car, I just put on my Spotify or whatever. I don't want to be at the behest of someone else as far as my music choices. I don't want a DJ somewhere else to tell me what I have to listen to.
Fair enough.
I need my personal freedoms. All right. According to WHO 13, we're sourcing another site now, I guess. A middle school student in the Johnston School District has now been expelled after he brought a firearm onto school grounds. Earlier this month, the news station reports that Superintendent Laura Kaser recommended expulsion during a closed session. Again, I would hope so. Earlier in September, the school district sent out an email that said a few students saw the individual had possession of the weapon, but no one was threatened and it was never brandished. Local authorities in Johnston have launched an investigation into exactly what happened. Yeah, I would like to know some more details on this as to why the kid brought a gun to school. But if you're a kid out there, don't take a gun to school. If you're a parent out there, lock your fucking guns up and don't let your kids get them, please.
Dude,
it seems like something that shouldn't have to be said in 2022, but apparently it does.
I'm not gonna lie, I totally spaced off. I started scrolling down. I don't know if it's an ad for me or whatever, but this West Des Moines house that's $8.9 million on Zillow is actually insane. This is absurd. Looks like a castle.
I like how I'm giving a really impassioned speech about how people need to lock their guns up. Don't let your kids take a gun to school. All these things. And you're over here looking at this home from West Des Moines, $8.9 million that I did see. I scrolled down and I did see it, but I didn't. I looked at it. I was like, I don't know if I want to transition to this here.
There's no way that's 8.9. All right, sorry, I got carried away.
You'd be shocked at how. I bet there's some crazy shit in that $8.9 million house. I'm not gonna lie.
Has to be. It doesn't look
I feel like if I could build an $8.9 million house, I feel like my house would be way cooler because I would use my space much more economically. Like I would not waste space on some of the shit that you see other people waste their space with, you know?
Yeah, but if you have that amount of money to build an $8.9 million house, I guarantee those people don't give a fuck how they waste those space.
That's probably true.
They probably got 3 more of those big ass houses somewhere else in the world.
Again, probably true. Yeah, my roommate's an engineer. His last house that he worked on a house a couple years ago, a job up in Okoboji. The house was $15 million, dude.
Oh,
custom house up in Okoboji. It's pretty
How
incredible.
long ago was this?
2 years ago. We could talk about it off there because I'm not going to put out. I'm not going to say whose house it was. It's someone that's notable.
I'm repping today. Let's go.
Yeah, there you go. All right. A Keokuk man was convicted Friday for his role in the armed robbery of a Burlington bar in February. Noah Scott was found guilty on 2 counts of first-degree robbery and 1 count of conspiracy to commit forcible felony after a 4-day trial. Who takes this to trial? Scott was accused of robbing the Outpost Bar and Grill.
Who robs a bar and grill
in Burlington? Why would you? Okay, so it says Scott and the 16-year-old were accused of brandishing firearms at a bartender and a bar patron, taking a gun belonging to an Outpost employee. Okay, of course, the person working at the bar had a gun as well as a woman's purse and money from the cash register. The thing I would like to ask that person is, how much money do you think is in that bar? Because I can guarantee you it's a lot less than what any potential robber would probably think.
Not a lot. And they're 15 and 16 years old at the time. I did not read this part of the article. 15 to 16 years old at the time of the crime.
It's bad deal, dude.
Gosh.
Have you seen Chris Williams and Chris Hassel talking about the Clarinet Academy?
Oh,
okay. So the Clarinet Academy in my hometown, Chris and I's hometown, there was the Clarinet Academy, which is where, kids who got in trouble could get sent. It's like, have you heard of, huh?
It's like a boarding school.
Yeah, boarding school. I guess that's how you could put it, but they send kids who get in trouble there. A lot of kids would come from like Detroit and some of the inner city areas around the country. That's where those 15, 16-year-old, they would be at the Clarinet Academy. For that gun charge. It's a tough deal.
So Scott faces a maximum of 25 years in prison for each robbery count. Was it worth it, buddy? Robbing a pub?
Probably got $100 in cash.
Probably not even.
And of course, the bar worker had a gun. That seems safe too. All right. Revenge. What the hell is this? Revenge.
This is the one I put on.
Revenge porn case lands Iowa man in Dallas County jail. A Sioux City man is being held in Dallas County jail after police say he admitted to sending nude photos and videos of his ex-girlfriend to her new boyfriend. Court documents said the victim asked Hackett about it and he admitted to sending the nude images. Police said after contacting him about the incident, he also admitted sending it to them. Okay. In what would prompt anyone sending?
You didn't read the best part of it.
What was it?
He admitted the quote that he admitted doing it.
Oh man, I got too many links open. I just did that because I don't know. I just did because I was dumb.
That has to be winner of the week, right?
That's certain. That's definitely the winner. That's certainly safe. I just don't understand. Like, okay, yeah, it's a revenge porn. I get it. Like, I understand under whatever the law is. I understand how it would get to that point. I want to know what that guy was thinking. What am I accomplishing by sending this picture of my ex-girlfriend, this guy's current girlfriend, to him? Like, what do you think you're accomplishing with that?
Hey, at least he admitted it though.
It's accountability, man. It's
He's
accountability.
self-accountable.
I respect it. I don't know.
That's wild.
Yeah, don't send those. Don't send pictures of your ex-girlfriend to people, please. All right. This is a follow-up from last week. We talked about the woman who brought the raccoon into a bar in North Dakota. She's been charged with the crime since they had to put out the warning about potential rabies exposure. This woman from Maddox, North Dakota, is charged with misdemeanor counts of providing false information to law enforcement, tampering with physical evidence, and unlawful possession of fur bearers. Christensen said her family found the raccoon on the side of a road about 3 months ago and named it Rocky. She said they were nursing the animal back to health with plans to release it into the wild. Okay, apparently it's illegal to keep a wild raccoon in your possession. What?
Oh, they killed the animal.
They did?
Authorities euthanized the animal and it tested negative for rabies.
Oh no, Rocky!
No. That just ruins the whole story. They killed the damn raccoon.
What a sad story. All because that woman took her to the bar.
And he said the bartender the animal never bit anyone. So there's a murder on the hands.
Justice for Rocky.
Justice
for Rocky. That's what we need. I need someone to make a graphic for me just with Rocky up in the sky, like the old Harambe ones.
Looking over us.
I want to know what led to the tampering with physical evidence charge. And what did she lie about to the police here? Like, I feel like, yeah, you know that the raccoon, you probably shouldn't have the raccoon, but I don't know that it's worth lying about it to the police, you know? It's like one of those things, just like, yeah, just have the raccoon. I don't know.
I feel like there's definitely more to the story here.
Yeah, there's got it. Rocky the raccoon, though. R.I.P. Rest in power, Rocky the raccoon. Speaking of wild animals, a wild seal that got loose in Massachusetts has evaded authorities' attempts to capture him for months. On Friday, turned himself in by waddling up to the police station.
Aww.
The gray seal first appeared earlier this month in Shoe Pond in the city of Beverly, northeast of Boston. The animal is believed to have traveled to the pond from the sea via a river and drainage pipes.
Nice.
The seal quickly became a local attraction and was even named Schubert after his chosen pond. Firefighters and wildlife Schubert's elusive. Okay. Firefighters and wildlife experts used boats and giant nets in an effort to capture the wily animal Thursday, but gave up after several fruitless hours. Early Friday morning, however, Schubert left the pond, crossed a parking lot, and appeared outside the side door of the local police station looking, according to a police statement, for some help. Hold on a minute.
Is this a human being?
How does the police officer know that this seal needed help?
I'm not buying it.
I think that the SEAL might have been lying to the police. We need to get them the same charges that they got the woman in North Dakota with.
How did he just show up?
Providing false information to law enforcement. That SEAL wasn't under distress. He's on the run.
Let him fly, baby.
Let him fly. Schubert. Apparently, they're going to release him here before too long back into the wild. A highway in Florida was covered in Coors Light beer after
Saw this.
After a semi crash late last week. The multi-vehicle crash occurred shortly after 6 a.m. Man, hell of a way to wake up on a Friday morning. 6 a.m. the southbound lanes of I-75, about 30 miles north of Tampa. The pileup began when one semi-trailer clipped another while changing lanes. That forced other semis to brake, but one failed to stop and collided with a pickup truck and another one of the stopping semis. Man, that was a real chain of events there. The semi that failed to stop was filled with cases of the silver bullet beer. If you're going to work, you're on your way to work, you're commuting into Tampa on I-75, and you come up and the entire road is blocked by Coors Light, are you getting out of your car and grabbing some Coors Light?
I mean, you have to. Nice little 12-pack after work.
I feel like that's the only logical thing to do.
I mean, I hope not everyone's drinking 12-packs after. Well, maybe. Props to you if you are.
Come on, man. If you start at 5, is this not that 12
Yeah.
beers?
Yep.
You're like shaming me. You don't like. I don't know.
Hey, so this is never mind.
All right. The our stolen product of the week, black market product of the week, $2 million worth of cars stolen from Flat Rock assembly plant, but many ran out of gas before thieves could get far. A ring of thieves. Oh my God. Is this like, what is it? Gone in 60 Seconds? Like a remake here? A ring of thieves appeared to have figured out a way to steal high-end Ford Mustangs from the Flat Rock assembly plant lot, but have failed to figure out how to keep them all running for a clean getaway. According to Woodhaven Police Chief Scott Fraxick, vehicles have been stolen from the plant on 9 separate occasions since 2016. Police said 7 new Ford Mustangs were stolen from the lot on the Woodhaven property of the plant. Fraxick said all of the vehicles stolen have been relatively the same type of Mustang, namely the Shelby and Cobra models. They're coming in groups. They aren't taking them one car at a time. We don't know how they're getting on the lot. One reason for that might be that there's no video surveillance on the lot, according to police, which seems like a really stupid idea when you've got $100,000 cars sitting around, despite the fact that there is a good deal of security surrounding the lot. The thieves are getting in and driving off the cars. Fraxick said the lead car sometimes smashes through the control gate so the following cars can get through. This is like literally like Gone in 60 Seconds. How does this keep happening?
Why would you not put cameras in after you?
Yes. All of the vehicles have just enough gas to start the cars and get them off the lot. Out of the 7 recently stolen vehicles, police have recovered 6 of them. Well, I mean, that's good, but like, why? There's got to be some security concerns at some point. Like somebody's got to sit back and be like, yo, we should probably rethink this whole deal.
How can you even steal a car nowadays? Isn't everything like hooked up? Like I know when I park my car somewhere else, it tells me on my phone. Like I would imagine these are newer models, right? So they could easily track the car.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I was going to try and steal cars, I probably wouldn't try and steal like a brand new one. You know?
Right. Maybe like a 1960 Chevy pickup truck.
Yeah, something that would be a lot harder to track than something that's like hooked up to OnStar. You know,
right.
Like if you're hooked up to the internet, you're probably not going to get very far. And maybe you should check to make sure there's gas. So it seems like another key piece of it as well.
Dumbass for the week, whoever owns this lot, like you put a fucking camera in.
Yeah, that's my bigger question. Why does the person who owns the lot not try and keep the people out? Wait.
That's your own fault.
Maybe the person who owns the lot's the one stealing the cars.
Oh. Yeah, that'd be too easy.
Would it?
Unless he's like selling them only on his dime instead of.
You think someone who works in the business of like stealing illegal cars and owning places where they're like, and they've worked their way up, you think they don't have a way to sell them?
Oh, easily, yeah.
You're like a kingpin at that point, you know. They load them up onto a boat that goes to China or something.
Wait, are we getting to the Conspiracy Jared episode? Because it was Conspiracy J-Bo.
Well, I'm just saying that the fact that they haven't put a camera in after they've been robbed 6 different times in 5 years.
No, I'm down.
It's questionable. It leads me to believe that it's an inside job.
I'm down for this. If you want to keep going to the rabbit hole, I'm down. Have you looked up anything about gods and goddesses recently?
No, I have not looked up any Greek gods or goddesses this week. I should have. I had a lot of people tweeting at me there. I actually had people texting me. This was funny. They texted me and said, Was Jordan drunk last week?
I wasn't.
That's why I said, I was like, shit, if he was drinking before the podcast. I don't know. He wasn't drinking during it.
Maybe I need to.
Even if you were, I was like, I don't care. He's a grown ass man. Like, he can do whatever the hell he wants to. If he wants to podcast drunk, that's his prerogative. But we're not. The FCC can't stop us. You know, we can do whatever the hell we want to.
Or the NCAA.
Or the NCAA. Sure as hell, they can't stop us. Nope. They can't stop anybody, especially people that are out there cheating, even in the world of NIL. All right. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Peace.